So we just wanted to talk about one of the really fun things and meaningful things, most meaningful I would say on this trip, and that has been meeting really cool and interesting people along our journey through Yosemite, and even starting way back at like getting our rental car. We met this really cool guy and yeah. And then when even down here in the valley, one person we met, well, two people we met was Roxy and her mom, and that was just like this really cool interaction. Just sitting on a bus, and James is like, "Hey, I dare you to ask where her accent is from." And
well, we heard a foreign language, and we were trying to guess where they're from, and we like talking to people from other places. We always start the conversation with like, "Where are you from? Heard your accent." So I was like, "Hey, ask her where she's from," because there's two girls, and she was sitting next to her, and she's like, "No," and I was like, "I'll give you $1," and she's like, "No," and I was like, "I'll buy you a pizza," and she's like, "You already owe me a pizza," because we've been hiking. So anyway, yeah, and then we ran into Roxy last night in Curry Village and just had an amazing conversation, which ended with hugs, you know? And how often is it that you're on the other side of the country and you find yourself hugging someone at the end of a conversation? It was just really beautiful. Yeah, she's kind of at the top of the list, I think, for us. And then we met Kevin and Joe on the hiker's bus up to Tuolumne, and then saw them just after they summited Half Dome, and then saw them when we were getting our victory pizza, and they offered to share their campsite with us because we were looking for a place to go.
Yeah.
And then who else?
And then there was Elise, who after backpacking for 3 days, 2 nights out there, and finding our trail was not a trail anymore. We came out and really far away from the valley. She picked us up and drove us down, and super cool and friendly. And
she said that was the first time she'd ever picked up hitchhikers. And I told Michelle, I'm like, let's just look like the most friendly people ever. Like, just Michelle's just like smiling, and I was just like, yeah, we need a hitch. And she said like, yeah, you guys looked really friendly. And I mean, we basically had waited looking for a hitchhike for like 2 minutes, you know. She's just right away. And then on the top of Half Dome, we talked to a guy who went by MJ. He was an attorney turned artist for a while, and
painting on
he's
top.
painting. Yeah, he's painting the sunrise. And then and then Olin, Sean, and Peter on top of Half Dome, about to be freshmen in college, and just total classic adolescence. Just no permit, not the right clothes, out of food, no gear, no gloves, wrong shoes. But
so cool and really fun.
They were really fun. They just see like, a little bit adolescent and breaking rules, and that's not right, but also just kind of sweet and innocent. And who else? I mean, there's a couple. We talked to a bunch of German people along the way. We didn't always catch their names.
And then at the bottom of the Half Dome Trail, the day before we went up, we met this really cool girl and this guy who had just climbed it, like rock climbed it from the other side. And they were just so cool, really humble, really kind, really happy and energetic. And then after realizing all that they'd done that day, because they had to hike in super far, then they were hiking back down, and we did that later. It's like, how did they have that much energy?
Yeah, and at that same spot, we ran into a college professor of biology who had 2 students who he had also climbed the west side of Half Dome with, and I chatted with him about climbing routes, and you talked to the 2 guys. Where were they from?
Yeah, one was from the Philippines and one was from Ukraine, and they're here studying, and then their professor rock climbs, so he's teaching them that too, and they were just really, really cool. And
they asked really good questions. Like, what were some of the questions they asked you?
I mean, they asked me when we started talking about that we have kids, they said, what's a piece of advice you would give for if we have kids one day? And so I got to say Psalm 90:12, teach us, Lord, to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom, and just spend time with your kids, like take it seriously. You only get this one chance to, you get 18 years and they're not kids anymore, so make the most of it and take it seriously.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
And then we met Fritz, who had just summited LCAP when we were on there. He's from Austria and lives in Washington, D.C. now with wife and 2 kids. And Chase and Josh, who were the guides.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of the most amazing from a coincidence standpoint was a girl who recognized this shirt, stands for Rock Creek from Chattanooga. And there was just like this insane number of coincidences of people we knew. She actually lives in our neighborhood back in Chattanooga. And then it turns out that I worked with her dad for a long time at Volkswagen. And I mean, like, I know him, I talked to him, semi-regularly. And she and I had actually met 6 or 7 years ago when he was in the hospital. And these interactions have brought like a lot of very wonderful and deep meaning and purpose to being here. It's not just like about the fun and the games, and it's not even just about our anniversary. And I don't know that you have those kinds of interactions with people in other places. Maybe you do, but I don't know. There's something about being out in nature that seems to maybe foster some of that, looking out for one another, or camaraderie, or like we both realize, like both of us, like Michelle and I and another couple, like we came out here kind of for the same reason, to appreciate nature. And there's certainly disagreement on how that nature got here. We would say that it was created by a loving God who can be known through Jesus Christ. And the Bible says that we can see him on display through creation, and that the heavens will declare his glory, and that sort of no man has any excuse to say, I didn't know about God, because he has written his law on our hearts. And then something about nature reveals his glory. But just coming into conversations with these people and hearing their stories and where they're from was just wonderful. And then getting to share a little bit about our story of decisions we've made, and how we parent, and how we marriage, and how we live, and how we sleep, and how we spend our money, and how we save our money, and how we have renounced everything that we have to the Lord to be his disciples. And so my best friend has totally convinced me that there are no coincidences. There are only God's divine appointments. And so we just kept seeing these interactions with people that seemed like, wow, I ran into you again. And just as like really the Lord's timing, maybe for our encouragement, maybe for their encouragement, maybe for another reason, I don't know. Certainly we don't have it all together, and we were just really blessed. I mean, even just especially last night talking with Roxy, maybe you're listening to this, but I just felt like we had just climbed 600 feet and we're feeling so proud, and yet like our conversation was like significantly more meaningful to me than what we had just accomplished. And it's kind of like a phenomenon to meet a stranger and have a conversation and walk away and just say like, that was the highlight of my day or even my week, but that was, and we've had a couple of those. And so, we've been praying for all of those people that we named, and just praying a blessing over them, that they would discover out here what we believe to be true, which is that there's a God who made this and us, and he loves us, and he wants to spend eternity with us in another place that he's created, which will be even more beautiful. And he can be known through Jesus Christ and through his word and the Bible. And so we've gotten to share Jesus with some of these people, and some in direct ways, some in indirect ways, and really trying not to like shove it down people's throats. But if they have questions, or if they seem interested, then we've shared, and if they don't, we haven't. There's been plenty of people we've met who aren't interested, and we're not going around shoving the Bible down people's throats. It's always an invitation. It's always a voluntary thing. But anyway, if somehow through another coincidence, any of you who we named are watching this, we just want you to know that, you really touched our lives and made our anniversary and this trip special and meaningful. And we've been praying for you, and it's just a wonderful part of our trip. And so we hope that we were a wonderful part of your trip too. Yeah, anything you want to add?
No, I think that's all. I think, yeah, it's been really kind of a fun journey. Like it's fun meeting new people in general, and then when you just see them again or you find out something about them that you have in common, it's really just makes it really exciting.
Yeah. We're going to end this with an inside joke that only one of you will get. Deutsch, baby.